The nature of Yeshua and his divinity. Gospels and Acts. The nature of Yeshua and his divinity affirms a high Christology. Anyone who claimed to be Bar-Anish is human, but when he said, Son of Man coming in his kingdom, or Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, that is not a ordinary Son of Man, but he is divine. Yeshua is divine because you shall see the Son of Man sit in the throne of his glory. He is the Messiah because thrones, dominions, and authority was given to him. And he is human, he is the Son of Man. The fact is, when Yeshua said, You shall see the Son of Man sit in the throne of his glory, it is more than enough to prove his divinity. Yeshua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory.
Messianic 7 Newscast broadcasting world news, current affairs, events surrounding modern-day Israel and the Jewish people, what the Torah holds for us, what is happening to the Gentiles. God's plan for the entire planet revolves around the physical and spiritual restoration of Israel and the consequent return of the Messiah Yeshua. Whether or not the nations realize it, world events are swirling around Israel and God's agenda, not the other way around. It is our hope that we can connect for you the prophetic dots between God's plan for mankind, Israel, and today's news.
In the past, the big issue which has faced the Messianic movement has understandably been the Messiahship of Yeshua of Nazareth, widely connected to the purposes of Jewish evangelism. For the present, the big issue which is staring right at the broad Messianic movement, to which no congregation, fellowship, family, or individual is entirely immune, is how to approach the nature of Yeshua Jesus. Is Yeshua the Messiah God, or is he a created being? While many affirm Yeshua of Nazareth to be the eternal and created Son of God who is indeed God, there are many others who express various levels of doubt about this, and then others who think that Yeshua is a created being and not God. There are those who will affirm that Yeshua is a supernatural being, to be sure perhaps even the first created being in the cosmic order, pre-existent of our known universe, but nevertheless created and not God. This publication, Salvation on the Line, The Nature of Yeshua and His Divinity, affirms a high Christology. Not only does it affirm a high Christology of Yeshua being God, it very much defends the view that while understanding all of the intricacies of Yeshua being God is not required for salvation, recognizing Yeshua as the Lord YHWH of the Tanakh Scriptures Old Testament most certainly is required for salvation. Romans 10 verses 9, 13, Joel 2 verse 32. This resource has consulted and engaged with a wide array of resources and perspectives across the Messianic movement, into the more independent sectors of the Hebraic roots movement, the views expressed by various Christians labeling themselves biblical Unitarians, and even those few theologians of note who hold to a low Christology. This involves an array of articles, books, commentaries, and even a few Bible versions. Most important would be some of the excellent, thorough, and readable resources defending a high Christology, seen within the realm of broadly evangelical Christian theology. The considerable bulk of Salvation on the Line, while defending a high Christology, is necessarily spent going to the text of the Holy Scriptures, Genesis through Revelation. This is not only because the Holy Scriptures are to be decisively regarded by God's people to be the word of life, but also because this is the venue where the rise and fall of theological concepts are to be found. None of us wants to be found holding to a view of Yeshua being God simply because of some kind of fundamentalist dogma, where if we hold to a different view our name will somehow end up on a list or in a white paper as being stigmatized as some kind of cultists. We want to be found holding to a view of Yeshua being God, precisely because that is where the witness of Scripture directs us. It is the genuine testimony of the Messiah and his early followers, and because it is required for our redemption from sins as fallen human beings. The author firmly believes that such a principled case can be made in going to the text of Scripture, and that those who hold to a low Christology are decisively lacking in many areas. Let us dig back history. Yeshua did not claim to be God. He did not say he was God. But according to his nature proven he is divine. Son of God is not his nature. Son of Man is his nature.
Matthew 16, verses 27 to 28, 27 For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. 28 Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here, which shall not taste of death, till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Matthew 19 verse 28. And Yeshua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
To Judaism of the 2nd century BC and 1 century AD, Son of God is normal. Anyone is the Son of God. Adam was the Son of God. Noah was the Son of God. Moses was the Son of God. The two Hebrew words used, ben in Hebrew, refer to someone's decent son, to proceed by generation or by transmission, to happen by inheritance, while bar is legitimate, born in accordance with the law or established legal forms and requirements, lawfully begotten. Greek ho huios de anthropo. Huios refers to legitimate but is not geos to anthropo, which refers to sonship based on decent. Huios to anthropo. Greek huios to anthropo was written from Hebrew bar enish. When Yeshua said that, immediately they took stones to stone him, calling him blasphemy.
Mark 14, 61-64, 61 But he held his peace, and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked him, and said unto him, Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? 62 And Yeshua said, I am, and ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. 63 Then the high priest rent his clothes, and saith, What need we any further witnesses? 64 Ye have heard the blasphemy. What think ye? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. Because the Jews knew that in Daniel 7, verses 9-10 and 13-14, as I watched, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient One took his seat. His clothing was white as snow, the hair on his head was like pure wool, his throne was fiery flames, with wheels of burning fire. A stream of fire flowed from his presence. Thousands and thousands ministered to him, millions and millions stood before him. Then the court was convened, and the books were opened. I kept watching the night visions, when I saw, coming with the clouds of heaven, someone like a son of man. He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. To him was given rulership, glory, and a kingdom, so that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His rulership is an eternal rulership that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed.
Anyone who claimed to be bar enish is human, but when he said, Son of Man coming in his kingdom, or Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. That is not a ordinary Son of Man, but he is divine. Because to him he is because to him he is the divine Messiah. The fact is, when Yeshua said, You shall see the Son of Man sit in the throne of his glory, it is more than enough to prove his divinity. The throne refers to the Davidic covenant. This is the covenant where God promises a descendant of David to reign on the throne over the people of God. It is a continuation of the earlier covenants in that it promises a Davidic king as the figure through whom God would secure the promises of land, descendants, and blessing. 2 Samuel 7 verses 8-29 is a record of the Davidic covenant establishing David and his descendants as kings of the united monarchy of Israel.
Luke 1, verses 26-33 In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city in the Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin's name was Miriam. Approaching her, the angel said, Shalom, favored lady, Adonai is with you. She was deeply troubled by his words, and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, Don't be afraid, Miriam, for you have found favor with God. Look, you will become pregnant. You will give birth to a son, and you are to name him Yeshua. He will be great. He will be called Son of Halion. Adonai, God, will give him the throne of his forefather David, and he will rule the house of Yaakov. Forever there will be no end to his kingdom.
The Jews during that time must come from heaven to rule on David's throne. Anyone born from an earthly father is ben Adam and not bar Enosh. Enosh is man or human being. Adam is mankind or man in general sense. In conclusion, Yeshua is divine because you shall see the Son of Man sit in the throne of his glory. He is the Messiah because thrones, dominions, and authority was given to him. And he is human, he is the Son of Man. It is not because he is the Son of God makes him divine. No, he is divine because he declared himself Son of Man. That proves he is divine. Anyone has an argument, please go to the link below and leave us a comment on our blog and website on www.messianic7news.blog-sport.com. Shalom.
Messianic 7 Newscast broadcasting world news, current affairs, events surrounding modern-day Israel and the Jewish people, what the Torah holds for us, what is happening to the Gentiles. God's plan for the entire planet revolves around the physical and spiritual restoration of Israel and the consequent return of the Messiah Yeshua. Whether or not the nations realize it, world events are swirling around Israel and God's agenda, not the other way around. It is our hope that we can connect for you the prophetic dots between God's plan for mankind, Israel, and today's news.